All right, everyone. We are doubling up on videos tonight. Something that I've been wanting to work on. Messed it up a couple times, deleted it. So see if we can get through it this time. This one's going to be a fun one. We are talking about yield off your animals. Tonight we are talking about yields on beef. I'm also doing another video on pork. I just didn't want to make a really long video and cram it into one, so I figure I'd do two separate videos. So let's get into it. There is a ton of variables going into this. It's not a set in stone answer by any means, but all I'm looking to do is give you a general idea of what you should expect from that animal. So factors going into this is animal age, the size of the animal, breed, the type. Is it a dairy? Is it a beef? Is it a cross of the two? And then also you got to think, if you're weighing that animal live weight before you take it to the processor, did it eat just before? Did it drink just before? That all factors into the weight. If it's got a full gut going in there, you're gonna have less percentage of hanging weight from that animal because its gut was full when you weighed it live. So most processors that I know of, they charge by the hanging or hot carcass weight is what you're looking at. So that is the weight of the carcass after it's been gutted, skinned out the head, all the internals removed. So that's going to be the hot carcass weight that day that it was processed, right after you're done. That's what I do. I get the weight of it as soon as it's been killed, gutted, skinned out. So for that, you're looking at 62 to 63% is a good general rule of your live weight transitions into the hanging weight. So you're going to take that, your live weight, if you have it, and times that by, go with 0.6 or 0.62, somewhere in that area. Like I said, there's different factors that factor into that. And then a good general thing to figure out, okay, a lot of people have, okay, I got a 700 pound hanging weight animal, I should get 700 pounds of meat back. No, that's not how it works. The hanging weight is just the carcass, the hang weight. So now, as another general rule, the hang weight by, say, 60% is what you should figure to get back packaged weight. Now that also depends on how long you age the animal. The longer you age it, the less of the moisture in that animal evaporates or drips out or whatever. So you're going to have more loss the longer you age it. You're going to have more trim you're going to be taken off of it if you age it. The longer you age it, we age for about 14 days is a good sweet spot for us. We have a couple customers that are wanting 21 days, so we're trying to work out some stuff with them so they're not getting a complete loss of the, on the whole carcass versus just the loin and rib section. So we're just playing around with some stuff there. And that's another thing too, if you're doing it yourself and you have the space and the time to let it age, grass-fed animals, you want to age a little bit longer, but you also have to be careful because they don't tend to have that fat cap on them like a good grain finished animal. So what I'm doing with this farm, we're going to try it out and see how it goes. We are going to hang for the 14 days. We're going to break that whole animal down. We're going to leave the loin and the rib section whole with the fat cap and everything on it. We're going to put them on a cart in our cooler, in our dry aging cooler, and let them age up to the 21-day mark. And then we're going to cut the rest of the animal into cuts. So now what we're doing for that farmer is we're gaining yield off that carcass that they wouldn't have had if they let the whole thing age 21 days. They're still getting their aged primals, their steaks and stuff. So the way I'm looking at it and the way I talk to him about it is most of the rest of that animal is going into roasts or steaks that aren't going to quite benefit as much. Yeah, you can get steaks out of the hinds, but they're going to be tougher anyway. So you're not usually going to. So you're not going to cook those like your steaks you would from your loin or your fillets or whatever it may be. So I'm trying to work with them on that and just see and play around with it and maybe have better information for you guys in the future with it. Something to think about if you're doing your own. I know a lot of shops probably aren't going to do that for you because they got to keep their flow and their productivity up. It's just what's going to make us stand out in the long run. Being able to do stuff like that for our customers and appease our major customer base, the ones that repeat customers, the repeat farms that are coming back to us all the time. Not saying that we wouldn't try doing it for somebody that hasn't, but we're going to be, if it's a repeat customer, even if it's a small, they raise one pig a year, but they're consistently coming back to us, we're going to remember those customers and we're going to do right by those customers the best we can. We want to do that with all of our customers, but building a good relationship with your processor goes a long way for sure. So we're going to get into the cuts. So on a half a beef, we're going to break it down in a half a beef. Just double the numbers on these. You're going to get 8 to 12 T-bones and 8 to 12 porterhouse, given the length of that animal. 9 to 12 nice fillet steaks. And I think these are 3/4 inch too. You're going to get 6 to 8 nice sirloin steaks and 10 to 15 ribs out of the rib section, rib steaks or Delmonico's. And then a New York strip steak, you're going to combine the T-bone and porterhouse numbers is what you're going to do, because you're taking that fillet out and you're cutting that whole loin into just a New York strip. So now you're getting 16 to 24 New York strip steaks out of that half of animal. You're also looking at getting 50 to 100 pounds of grind, depending on what your getting back in roasts. So what you're looking at with the rounds, you're going to be the whole hind quarter of the animal. You're going to be just like I said, it depends on the weight of the animal. A good general rule, you're going to be in the ballpark of 100 to 120 pounds off that hind, maybe more, maybe less. Like if you got an abnormally large animal, you're going to get more. Now, like I said, this is just a general rule. I've had a lot of customers say, they don't know. They're new to it. They don't know what to expect out of that half animal. But I've also had a lot of farmers saying, I think my butcher is stealing my meat. So this is why I'm doing this, to help not only you as a customer buying from the farm, but also the farmer to figure out, is the processor they're using stealing their meat? It's a big thing. And I might step on some people's toes for doing this on either side, because if you're a processor and you're doing this, shame on you. And if you're a farmer and you're not sure, also shame on you. If you're putting out a fair amount of animals, my biggest suggestion to you as a farmer is try to get, go to 2, 3, 4 different processors in your area and try to take similar animals in weight and have them cut all very similar. It's not gonna be to a T, but by doing that, if you're getting all the same cuts, same steak thickness, same size roasts and whatnot, and by doing that, you're going to be able to look at all those processors that you're using, and if you get one that's consistently coming up short, then yeah, maybe they are stealing your meat, or something else is happening. Maybe they don't have cutters on their crew that are fully trained yet, and they're tossing a lot of that stuff. They're not stealing your meat in general, but they just have inexperienced cutters that aren't cleaning off the bones fully, or whatever it may be. So yeah, I mean, this is things to think about. So this was right here, this thing that I have in front of me is saying a 1,200 pound steer. It doesn't specify if that was a live weight or hanging weight 1,200 pounds, but they're saying that you should get roughly 100 to 120 pounds off that chuck section off the animal. Now the chuck is the spine section from where you break off your rib, where you're getting your rib steaks, all the way down through the neck is still classified as the chuck section. So the big thing with that is how you're having it cut. You're gonna get more weight back if you take in all bone-in cuts, bone-in chuck roast, bone-in arm roast. Get your neck bones back for soup. Get your shank bones back with some meat on it for soup. Take your bones back for dog meat. Keep the extra fat to render down for tallow. Keep the suet. If you're worried about getting your money's worth out of that from the processing, take this stuff back. If you're going to a reputable slaughterhouse, butcher shop, abattoir, whatever you may call it in your area, they should be able to take this stuff from you. Take this stuff and give it back to you. It's your animal. I don't see why it should be a problem. Yes, does it take more packaging? Yes, does it take more time for them to save it instead of throwing it in the big game, in their bone cans or whatever they're doing? Maybe. Do I look at it like that in my shop? No. It's one less thing I gotta get paid to get rid of. If you're willing to take that stuff back and utilize it, I'm all for it. I mean, I want people to utilize their animals. Get your marrow bones back and cook them down, split them in half and cook them down into soups. Take the knuckles and feed them to your dogs. If you don't have dogs, give them to your neighbors, your family that might utilize them for their dogs. I had someone that wanted some of the trimmings back ground for dog food for their dogs. Great. I'm already using a grinder to grind your hamburger. I'll run, I have no problem running the trimmings back through there and try to make, do I have a science in dog food? No, but if you're supplementing kibble or whatever, I do it with my dogs. So yeah, it's things like that, bone-in cuts, and then organs. Take your organs back. The hanging tender, I'm not a fan of it. I always tend to grind it. If somebody asks for it, I will cut it out and package it separate. Your flank steaks and skirt steaks and flat irons. Now the flat iron you're taking away from your bone-in chuck. You take that flat iron off and the mock tender out of that. There's no point in keeping the bone in there, but now you can get some smaller boneless chucks out of that. Brisket, have that cut in half or whole or thirds, whatever you prefer and how you're going to cook it down. Maybe utilize ground meat more and you want more ground meat, but just realize the more ground product you get, you're losing that weight and bones you're getting back. If that's what your family utilizes, great. Take that, utilize it. Just know that the weight you're getting back of actual meat or cuts is going to be lower than if you kept everything bone in and kept more whole cuts that way. Yeah, and that's a big thing, is know your cuts, know what your family uses. So when you come to us, if you have a good butcher, again, if you have a good butcher that you use, I'll sit down and spend the time with my customers so they are getting exactly what they want and they're going to utilize. The last thing I want is to send something home with you that you're not going to utilize. Now, if you're not big on organs in the bones and the fat, find someone that'll take them. Give them away to somebody else. I don't want to see those things go to waste. If you can find family members that want them for feeding their dogs or they'll eat them, that's awesome. I mean, the more stuff you can utilize that out of that animal, the better you're going to do. You're honoring that animal by utilizing more parts of that animal. Now, another thing quick before I finish this video is the heavier the fat cap on the animal, the more trim you're going to have, the more loss. So take that in consideration when you're grain finishing your animal. There is a sweet spot. You can't overfeed your animals. The more fat that's in that animal, the more that we as butchers tend to trim off, the more that gets thrown away if you're not keeping that fat. If you're keeping that fat, great. You're golden. You're going to have a ton of tail to render down. But yeah, I just wanted a nice quick video to go over this and, you know, give you guys some good information on this. We will have another one for pork coming out here shortly. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to it. But yeah, as always, please like, comment, subscribe, share, ring that notification bell. We've got more videos coming out from the butcher shop coming up. I'm going to start doing some more breakdown videos, some grinds, how we're making sausages and stuff over time. Now I'm getting some bearings underneath me. So if you guys could, just keep following. It's greatly appreciated. The channel's still slowly growing. And I hope to catch you guys on the next one.